Hey guys, welcome to a new What If here. Today we're doing part 1 to What If Female Naruto is a full-blooded Uzumaki, and if you somewhat been around for a while, you'll probably remember that I've done this this type before. Type being that, well, it's just normal canon Naruto, so male Naruto. Now I'm doing female, as of course channel likes female a lot better, so yeah. Anyway, so how would Naruto become a full-blooded Uzumaki? As of course Naruto is only half blooded due to obviously Minato not being an Uzumaki. Well, of course in this timeline, Minato is going to be a full-blooded Uzumaki, but he's still going to have blonde hair. How well? Because sometime, obviously, before Uzu's destruction, or at least there would have been an Uzumaki, Minato's mother or father, whichever one would have been born with with somewhat uniqueness of kind of blonde hair, mainly due to or at least the somewhat uniqueness in the kind of DNA. So instead of being born obviously with red hair, it would have been born with somewhat blonde and blue eyes, and of course so they'd been, or at least going about, there or at least there's time of course went by. There were at least somewhat with, or at least somewhat wanting to, or at least know, or at least having the slight knowledge and that Uzu may be destroyed, and obviously wouldn't give their son the highest chance of living and bringing up the next generation of Uzumaki, even though they may only be half. They'd put him in Konoha and into an orphanage, or more specifically they'd just dump him out the front gate, and they'd put him out the front gate with the only name as Minato. They didn't really want to give Konoha any that he was an actual Uzumaki, as he only had blonde hair, blue eyes, somewhat perfect. No one would know he was a full-blooded Uzumaki, and well, if he didn't kind of awaken any of their bloodlines, then no one would be none the wiser. The only thing that would have would be somewhat normal sized male Uzumaki chakra reserves, but that was kind of it. And of course somewhat a couple of years later, Kushina went to Konoha, and somewhat time after that, the Uzumaki was destroyed and the Third Great Shinobi War started. And so obviously Minato and Kushina would still wind up together in that, obviously. And though Kushina tried convincing him many times to go to the kind of either hospital or that to have his blood kind of checked with hers to see if he was a Uzumaki, as his reserves were mammoth for the normal, just for a normal Jonin shinobi. They were mammoth. So it just she'd figured that he had to be from a clan, potentially the Uzumaki, as she easily surpassed his, but she was the fucking Jinchuriki of the 9 times, so her chakra reserves would surpass his. And so it ended up to agreeing, once she'd fallen pregnant, that he would go if that child was born with red hair, as if he was born with obviously somewhat blonde, so many things obviously could happen, and when that both were could presume that was possible, was him just his body just decided to have blonde hair instead of red, so it'd still be a carrier obviously of the the gene for red hair, and Kusuna obviously only having the gene for red hair. You know, somewhat obviously blonde and red hair gene, pure red gene. You know, yeah, to somewhat have obviously somewhat has what 3/4 of a chance to be born with red and 1/4 blonde instead of 50-50. So yeah, it would somewhat so she'd be born with red hair and be somewhat female. And though of course by then it would be the 9 tails, somewhat the kind of obviously 9 tails is the 9 tails attack, or it would somewhat happen like it would. The only difference would be that Minato, seeing that she had red hair, sure there was a chance that she was half Uzumaki, but her reserves were like he'd some shinobi and even medic nin somewhat when they were checking up, when obviously checking up how the child was doing, they didn't even need to really try to send somewhat chakra into somewhat the room and into the somewhat child to see how healthy the child was, and child must be freaking healthy if it's somewhat, if they could somewhat feel the chakra granted Kusuna to suppress her own somewhat chakra signature. But if they obviously wanted to do it down to a, granted it was less accurate, but still Nata as a somewhat newborn had a shite ton about probably high tuning somewhat low to mid tuning. And remember Kusuna was abnormal for an Uzumaki. She had high reserves for an Uzumaki. Minato would have average male, she would have, and so Naruto would have even more due to being born like 99.999% Uzumaki. The like 0.0 to how many zeros you want to add on to it, 1% was the 9 tails chakra, which bonded or at least the 9 tails chakra, which had slightly altered the DNA very tiny amount, so she would be born, she would look pretty much like Kusuna, the only difference being blue eyes and 6 whisker marks on her cheeks, and otherwise she'd have cream, beautiful cream white skin and that, and and of course from there, well, what about the village as well? A lot of the older people, say 40-50 years old, would be able to somewhat they would be able to somewhat see Naruto as Kusuna's child. Obviously one was red-haired, the other one was red-haired, so so pretty much they, should be somewhat to look, and then some of the somewhat younger generation will be as well, but it's more, and so some of the village obviously saw someone could obviously somewhat liked her. So most were impassive, mainly seeing how she'd be when she's older, and others somewhat despised her, like in canon for powers in the 9 tails, and only saw her as the 9-tailed fox. And and anyway, though time would go by and she'd be somewhat 6 years old. So somewhat at the moment she'd be somewhat just kind of at her somewhat home, just somewhat, or at least just sitting on her bed, somewhat just mulling over kind of somewhat how to do the transformation. She could, she'd put chakra into it, but it was more smoke than anything else, and obviously she'd have to wait nearly 5-10 minutes for the smoke to disappear, and once it did, she'd then be able to tell, and so she figured she'd probably mostly needed chakra control, and well, she wasn't going to stick. Well, she was if it was the only other chocolate, if it was the only freaking chocolate control exercise. And yeah, she'd mulled over about going to the library, but she'd figured that it probably that you know, she was probably like somewhat abnormal, and that she was the, you know, only one with like, you know, massive reserves or that, as you know, somewhat for age, not realizing that well she would, well yeah, it was practically a massive. She was already by now like nearly surpassing Kage in chakra, if not she already has done. In yeah, I mean she was high S rank, yeah, like borderline double S rank in chakra reserves, as well, yeah, 9,000 Shirky, and with a small amount of Fox's chakra always bleeding into her own to mix, obviously to mix with her own to, so that when she would eventually pull on the Fox's chakra, use it, and you know, sort of gain control over it, it wasn't, you know, toxic to her. It wouldn't, you know, blow her. It wouldn't obviously somewhat cause her really damage. Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't, you know, eat away his skin and everything like that. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they should eventually somewhat decide on just going to these flats, or surely the old man would know, you know, should sort of figure so should someone get up and would head out to the somewhat Hokkaido town. Once she's there, she'd somewhat ask him, well, somewhat after all his statements, in which the, of course, he was going to go, Naruto, somewhat, and how can I help you today? And she'd go, well, hey there, old man, somewhat, can you help me in somewhat of chakra control? Oh, what do you need help with in chakra control? Well, the somewhat, well, so I could do the chakra control and I could do the least exercise, but surely there's got to be, you know, like a much somewhat part of chakra control exercise, right? It, you know, it can't just be somewhat leaf sticking, surely, right? Just go, well, yeah, there are somewhat more difficult ones. So really, and he didn't sort of think about telling her, but would mentally shrug. There was no harm in telling her, plus I was as well mammoth in size, so yeah, it'd be very helpful. So it's somewhat not only go, well, I won't tell them all at once, because, well, yeah, you may get the order somewhat mixed up. You may end up doing one which may be like near impossible to do without doing, you know, the previous one. So just nod at that, and here's and go, well, so the first exercise is, or at least so the first one after leaf sticking is called tree walking, or at least somewhat in general it's called tree walking, as the idea is to walk up a tree or any really vertical surface, though a tree is of course a lot better. Should somewhat nod, though, of course, somewhat. So what you'd want to do, or at least the version you'd be doing initially, is somewhat called tree running. Of course, self-explanatory, running up a tree. So your goal is to run up and down the tree about 5 or so times, because all the way up the tree and then all the way back down. And yeah, and then once you can do that, slowly, obviously somewhat slowing down your speed, so from running to jogging to then walking, and then eventually hanging upside down on a branch for about, or at least somewhat stopping on the tree for about 10-15 minutes. After something like that, you'd know you could then move on to hanging upside down on the branch, then once again 10-15 minutes later, and then you can sort of come back here and I'll tell you the next exercise. Okay, should someone nod at that, and you'd go, also, if you send too much chakra into the tree, or at least the tree bark will crack, and or if you send even more, or just a ton of chakra into it by accident, you can go flying off, shooting off. And yeah, and of course, if you send not enough, you'll either stick to the tree but slide all the way down, you're not somewhat sticking hard enough to it, where your chakra's holding you to the tree. It's holding you, but it's not strong enough. And then there's somewhat not enough, like a tool where you're just somewhat, where you go up and then start coming down, but you'd start obviously falling away somewhat from the tree. Okay. So not that land, should somewhat thank him before somewhat, or at least should turn around to leave, and he'd somewhat try to go, oh, wait. Don't forget to, even though somewhat control is one thing, I know to always somewhat practice the jutsu as somewhat, there's like you can have pinpoint chakra control, but it's, if you don't practice somewhat taijutsu, you're still pretty much wasting chakra. The more you practice, the more you get used to the jutsu, the better you are to utilize using your chakra for that jutsu, and thus the smaller, or at least the smaller amount of chakra you can send to the jutsu, as you can figure out how to make it more efficient with with chakra usage. He's in a smile at that, as even though she was young, she was incredibly smart, and she was, Kushina somewhat smart. Minato was battle smart. He wasn't naturally smart. Battle smart was what canon Naruto is. He follows somewhat his dad in that aspect, and mainly because somewhat Minato was very, very bad at naming things. Seriously, especially somewhat if you haven't read the Minato one shot, you'd somewhat if you have, then you'd know what his somewhat idea of naming the Rasengan, which Kushina was the one that named the somewhat chaotic spiraling ball of chakra, the Rasengan. It was her that named it that, and otherwise his one was quite long. Seriously. Anyway. So somewhat from there, about 2 weeks would go by as you just have so much chakra, though those should be somewhat hanging upside down from a branch, though should somewhat open up her eyes as she go, yes, that bear somewhat got funny, got there, or she'd somewhat let eyes like somewhat scream, such yelp as she'd got a bit too excited and kind of jumped off. Of course, if she was vertical, no problem, she'd just land back on the tree. She was upside down, so she just shot herself downward somewhat. Whoops. So she'd somewhat shut her eyes, and almost though somewhat slight, somewhat kind of instincts would somewhat take over, and she'd somewhat shut her eyes, kind of prepared for impact, but it wouldn't come. She'd open up. She'd somewhat, her eyes would somewhat flutter open with somewhat some nervousness. Mainly was she caught? She didn't feel like she'd been caught by someone, and as her eyes would somewhat focus, she'd just see a golden chain going into the ground, and she'd somewhat follow that, and she'd go wide-eyed. It was coming from her golden, somewhat golden chain was holding her armpit. And she's just stunned, though. After a couple of seconds, the somewhat shock and that would wear off, and she'd start at least trying to kind of not obviously, just she knew obviously to get down, just to cut chakra from where the chain was coming out, as she could feel her chakra going into the chain. But she kind of wanted to see if if it extended, she could surely retract, and that's what she was trying to figure out. But a couple of minutes later, and she decided to screw it. She'd add a mental note into her mind about how it felt to produce the the chain, and how her chakra felt before just cutting chakra. And though as she'd cut chakra to the chain, she would put her hands out in front in somewhat preparation for impact, as she was out somewhat the lowest branch of the tree. As well, up higher, you're more likely to hit another branch than get a, you know, straight downwards trajectory, whatever, T directory, whatever. Yeah. So after somewhat that, she'd pick herself up and would after somewhat dusting herself off from the dirt and somewhat slight dust and somewhat a bit of mud and, you know, whatever, she'd proceed to somewhat go and somewhat onwards towards the somewhat Hokage Tower to get the second chakra trial exercise, or third technically, but second mainly somewhat useful, and also to somewhat tell them about chains. And yeah, she would also, something to add, she would also know about her mother, as obviously somebody somewhat, you know, elderly, you know, they told her that she looked a lot like her mother. And yeah, so, you know, somewhat Hizen was kind of forced that, and Riley, you know, figured it wouldn't be too kind of hurtful, though he did, well, he's somewhat, up until she kind of could somewhat protect herself, mainly once they started teaching, you know, how to use kunai and that, he'd had Abu sort of watch her. And even then, you know, when she was going about somewhat the village, and occasionally, you know, an Abu somewhat trailer to make sure nobody was, you know, somewhat going to hurt her. And yeah, anyway, so someone should arrive at the Hokage office after 10, 20, probably 20-25 minutes. Of course, she was somewhat young, small, and she couldn't really run that fast. And yeah, so somewhat after arriving, she'd go up into the somewhat tower, and she'd walk past somewhat, you know, the desk, like somewhat normal. When the somewhat person called, somewhat Naruto, can you somewhat go in there? She'd somewhat stop and she'd go, somewhat, why is, though before she could somewhat really finish, the person said that somewhat he was not in his office at the moment, so that should have to somewhat wait. Should go okay. Should somewhat kind of continue onwards, but would stop at the door of the somewhat Hokage's office, and would just somewhat wait there for a bit. Sometime later, Hizen would somewhat arrive in the somewhat office, and as he'd walk past the somewhat as he'd somewhat walk past the desk, the somewhat person would somewhat ask if he was somewhat okay, to which he'd state that he was somewhat saddened, but he was okay besides from that. And well, yeah, so somewhat from there, those who would also somewhat tell him that now was something right for him, to which he'd somewhat was kind of sigh, as though he'd somewhat nod, though the person would quickly state that it was Naruto. Somewhat Naruto-chan, to which Hizen would kind of somewhat gain a somewhat smile from that. And yeah, and so somewhat from there, he'd somewhat walk down, knowing that somewhat Naruto would more likely be probably outside his office waiting than going to the somewhat waiting area. So yeah, so from there, and somewhat see her, though before that, of course, she'd hear that somewhat Naruto herself would hear what the somewhat had said, and she could also, she strangely enough now feel sad. She didn't know why, she just all of a sudden felt sad. She was confused as hell, you know. She was excited not that long ago, granted maybe slightly nervous, but she's still, you know, freaking excited, you know. She could obviously have chains, golden chains, you know. And you know, she completely, so you know, the chocolate exercise, and she was, you know, obviously somewhat getting another one. And yeah, so she shouldn't be feeling sad, and she'd think about it for a couple of seconds, but would eventually mentally somewhat shake her head to clear her thoughts, and the somewhat, yeah, though Hizen somewhat smile, and he'd go, how are you, somewhat Naruto-chan? She'd somewhat smile. Okay, old man, you've probably already heard, but yeah, I'm a bit sad, but I'm somewhat sad, but overall I'm fine. She'd somewhat nod at that, and they would somewhat, Hazen would open up the door, push the, his office door open. She'd walk in and he'd follow after shutting the door. She'd somewhat ask him about the Armbu and somewhat aren't they generally following him, to which he'd state that they were off doing some things at the moment, but they would be back if for whatever, or at least if, yeah. And we'd somewhat just kind of ask why, to which she'd just kind of somewhat shrug and state that just curious and that they hardly ever left him. And yeah, he would just somewhat nod at that, and from there somewhat he'd sit down and he'd then somewhat ask somewhat, obviously he could somewhat help her somewhat with, to which she'd state that she'd completed the chakra controller exercise, though he could hear the somewhat excitement in her voice, and he'd somewhat know that completing a chakra controller exercising wasn't, or at least wasn't putting all that much excitement into her voice. It was something else. And he'd go, oh, well, I know that's somewhat slightly exciting, but there's something even more exciting, isn't there? And she'd somewhat smile, and she'd nod, and she'd somewhat state that, well, when she'd completed it, she'd gotten somewhat a bit too excited and kind of somewhat being upside down, she kind of jumped and somewhat fell to the ground. But she didn't hit the ground as well. She'd state when she opened up her eyes, she's somewhat a bit from the ground, a meter or two, three from the ground, so she wasn't that high up, and that she had or at least somewhat, there was a golden chain, and she somewhat more or least looked at it more, she realised it was coming from her, and yeah, he would somewhat be somewhat shocked at that, and yeah. Though after he'd somewhat nod, and he'd somewhat tell her that her mum could do that too, and that Krishna could somewhat be, and that they were called the antimatin chains. And yeah, he would somewhat tell her, or at least somewhat what mum could somewhat do with them, from producing obviously somewhat barrier, somewhat a dome of a chakra chain dome, to which was nigh impenetrable by anything, to obviously somewhat he'd figure that she could probably be able to do a wall, and yeah, he'd tell her some stuff, and yeah, she'd just somewhat nod, kind of excited to know that, and yeah, they should ask if there was possibly, anything he sort of knew really about them to, get her, or at least somewhat, off the line, and maybe kind of reproducing them and slightly controlling them, to which he'd shake his head, saying, he'd somewhat say sorry, shaking his head. No, that Krishna always kind of kept it to herself, somewhat understandably. And yeah, she'd just somewhat nod, and yeah. Though somewhat from there, Husband would then tell her about water walking, and that was the next chakra control exercise. Yeah, she'd sort of nod, thanking him, and from there, though she would somewhat ask, or at least what was kind of causing him to be somewhat sad, to which she'd just tell her that she'd understand somewhat tomorrow in the academy. Somewhat, though she'd just kind of nod, though she'd something that was slightly odd. Why would the academy tell her, and why would that affect the old man? Though she'd just somewhat shrug, and yeah, from there she'd leave and would go to somewhat, or at least find a somewhat lake, and proceed to practice for about an hour on water walking. Granted, she'd, or at least somewhat, most people, the second she'd walk on the water, would state she got it, down. She wasn't good, but she got it down as well. Yeah, because on the way there, she'd figured, well, if they solid object like a tree required a constant fixed flow, then a some water being a fluid or just being able to obviously be change very easily, that it would probably require maybe variable amount of chakra, like a constant change in chakra amount into the water. And so once you'd arrive there, it was pretty much somewhat spot on. Granted, she had to obviously somewhat lower the range in which she was changing it and that, but yeah. Though of course somewhat being wobbly, though over the hour she'd gotten a lot less wobblier, and another half an hour after the hour should be comfortable enough to somewhat jump into the sky, and that's what she would do, landing on seemingly water like it was hard solid ground. And yeah, though she'd somewhat wonder about potentially what came after this, though she'd figure that she'd ask him obviously to after the academy, and that for right now though she'd would go and would find some, or at least some targets. Going so Kunai should then throw practice aiming and that for a bit. Then after that she'd then train in some doing the transformation, and yeah. And so the next day in class, she'd wonder where Sasuke was. He generally here early, and yeah, though she didn't really care, of course, about him as even though he was somewhat kind of nice or that, or at least not brooding. So he did kind of somewhat look down on kind of others, like very much, I'm better than you type deal, but without kind of saying it. And yeah, and well, yeah. So though eventually everyone would somewhat be arrive somewhat in the class, and that essentially Iruka would somewhat walk in, and she'd still be wondering where he was. And yeah, when Iruka, after checking them all in, who'd let a kind of sigh as he'd state that he was, or at least coming with bad news. They would look at they would wonder what that meant, like were they all being kicked out, or what? And he'd state that Sasuke Uchiha was currently in the hospital, and she was now to mind bent from, so that's why he's not in. But then, well, why was he? Maybe a child's hope sparring too hard, maybe, possibly, most likely. She'd figured when he'd state that Uchiha from his clan had gone on a rampage and killing every Uchiha, and that Sasuke was now the last one who had been taken to the hospital due to being under a somewhat powerful kind of genjutsu, to which he was like, okay, never mind. Yeah, though with somewhat curiosity, actually didn't really care. Some of the other girls were then someone talked about how they would cheer him up and kind of some stuff like that, and yeah, though Iruka was somewhat slightly happy, well, though somewhat annoyed, though he at least had two females that weren't seemingly talking like the rest of them. One he didn't quite like, but was slowly somewhat accepting, which was Naruto, of course, being the 9,000 Tenshoki. Of course, the 9,000 attack, the fox had obviously killed his parents, so it wasn't exactly too happy. So of course he wasn't exactly welcoming, but he'd put his feelings aside as he was a teacher. And a teacher taught no matter about their feelings they taught. And yeah, so he was slowly starting to see her as more than just the nine-tailed fox. And yeah, and the other one was the shy Hyuga Hinata. And yeah, though of course somewhat the boys were also somewhat talking, though there are somewhat only two other boys somewhat that weren't, which was or at least, well, probably three. Shino, as I don't really see him talking. Shikamaru stating that it was probably too troublesome, and then somewhat Choji. Yeah, of course, Keeper would obviously somewhat be stating that you'd put Sasuke, someone to surpass Sasuke now, and that, and some girls would somewhat, or at least all the girls minus out, and Hinata would somewhat tell him that no, somewhat no, and Sasuke, somewhat can would be somewhat the shinobi of the year, the overall shinobi of the year, and yeah. So Hinata somewhat was mainly roll her eyes at the girls seriously. Though ironically, somewhat, she was the current Konoichi of the classroom, the Konoichi of the year. Why? Well, because Hinata was too damn shy. Hinata was intelligent and also, somewhat strong, good in taijutsu, but she was too damn shy, so her somewhat score was much lower than Naruto, and low enough that Sakura was somewhat boo, or at least somewhat shy, so she mainly somewhat read, so book smarts, mainly the ability to obviously remember what she'd read and say back what was in the book. And yeah, and then somewhat Naruto, who of course somewhat she's just more or less somewhat intelligent because of somewhat just being curious. She'd somewhat learned she wasn't book smart, as in she could obviously recall the somewhat book, but she wouldn't be able to remember, on page somewhat 36 it stated blah blah somewhat whatever, somewhat like Sakura could, or somewhat she could go at it as in this book it stated in some page somewhat about, or at least what this, and could obviously explain it in her own way, while Sakura would pretty much copy, say what the book said. She'd just be verbalizing the book, pretty much. Whereas Naruto could obviously somewhat remember the important parts and obviously somewhat say them in her own way. And yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and somewhat, or at least as she somewhat got older, Konoichi, obviously somewhat the girls were like, oh yeah, so next year I'll be the Konoichi of the year and somewhat, whatever, but of course they were somewhat getting somewhat smarter, but they weren't getting really that stronger because, they wanted a cute bot, they wanted somewhat, they, didn't really want to train, they wanted somewhat look cute and that, and, well, somewhat, yeah, once she didn't really somewhat care, she cooked her own somewhat food, so she should, or at least so somewhat, lunchtime, she'd always be seen at, Uzumaki ramen, so not having, somewhat a bowl or two, or 3 or 4 of somewhat ramen, but, she somewhat knew from, obviously, a book that, a healthy diet was important, and especially important for a somewhat Konoichi, and especially somewhat an academy student, growing in that, and well, yeah, and she knew she had to eat a lot more than what the somewhat book state that was somewhat healthy, as well. Yeah, she's very active, and the more active you are, the more you kind of gonna have to eat to make sure you're not unhealthy. And yeah, so even though it look unhealthy, the amount you're eating is actually healthy because you're burning all that energy off. Yeah, so somewhat before long she'd somewhat be 8, and she'd mainly, or at least somewhat at 8, be kind of frustrated with the clone jutsu. Like, yeah, somewhat by now she could do the transformation and replacement jutsu, but she just couldn't do the clone jutsu, and she knew she wouldn't be able to from the chakra control, and chakra, or at least somewhat control she was doing was, or at least somewhat, 2 different types. One was a somewhat meditation where she'd somewhat meditate and somewhat send chakra into a singular muscle, and once she could send all the chakra she could into, well, not all her freaking chakra into one muscle, but somewhat, or at least she initially started from sending, or at least getting as little chakra as possible and send that all into a muscle. Once she could get that, she'd then try that throughout her entire body. Once she could do that, she would then up the output into a single muscle. Once she could do that, then all throughout the body. The reason why is because as you get higher in chakra output into your muscles, you more than likely had chakra that went into the bone, the bone, and somewhat, you don't obviously want it going into the bone or just into the skin and air. You don't want that. You want it, you're sending it to your freaking muscles. You want it to go into your muscles. You want it to be, you want the chakra, energy to go into your muscles to be useful, not into your blood or that, where you're not, telling it to go, you're telling it to go into your muscles. You want it in your muscles, not nowhere else. So that's what that was how. So that, and then pretty much kunai balance, into which she was doing that, whilst also either, at least once she could balance, say, a single kunai with a chakra on her hand, she'd then try and do that whilst on a tree, sideways. Once she could do that, upside down. Once she could do that, walking on somewhat water, which really wasn't all that, well, it was somewhat harder because it was a constant amount in one. It was somewhat having to split a concentration from a constant amount in one and a varied amount in another. And then from there, once you could do all of that, 2 kunai. So, more, and so just rinse and repeat. And yeah, the ironic thing is that she'd been trying to just do a mass amount of clones. She kept her chakra as small as possible and kept it fixed at that small amount, but because she had so much damn freaking chakra, as she obviously, she's not obviously having a lot even for a normal Uzumaki, to being a obviously Uzumaki, then she had a shite ton, and also being the Jinchoku of the full 9 tails, not half like in canon. She also did Jinchoku to the full complete 9-tailed fox. So pretty much that chakra obviously somewhat mixing with her own, so that it wasn't corrosive / poisonous to her. Somewhat up the somewhat reserves, which, so pretty much she just flooded the clearing. Granted, which was obviously a lot smaller than the overall training ground, but still the clearing fitted about 50,000 clones of her, and they all looked freaking half dead. And it was why she was just getting somewhat annoyed. She was doing 50,000 clones, and it was the smallest amount of chakra she could do. She was obviously somewhat, the days obviously focusing on more and more on, shrinking her control, her chakra down. But so much for at least right now she could do 50,000 and they all look dead. And yeah, somewhat pale, sickly, and yeah, she was pretty even sure she could punch. She was pretty damn sure she had so much chakra in them that she could punch one and it would physically hurt her. Yeah, but yeah, though 2 years would go by and she'd be 10, and should finally get about 40,000. Should finally somewhat get it down. Should finally be able to somewhat do it, or at least produce about 40,000 clones. Granted, she couldn't do no smaller than 40,000, because any smaller and they would look dead again. They'd start looking dead. So about 40 odd, about somewhat 40 odd thousand not shadow clones, clones were her minimum amount at the moment. And yeah, but hey, that was pretty obviously somewhat impressive for her insane amount of reserves. And yeah, though also another thing she'd slowly been doing was somewhat starting to wear more, well, not really more black, but just somewhat wearing kind of just black clothes in general. She'd somewhat, but yeah, mainly because obviously somewhat covering her land fire is generally relatively somewhat hot. So she'd always had somewhat dark clothes, and she'd always find a more, or at least somewhat more kind of comfortable in some of the darker clothing instead of bright clothing, aka kind of Naruto bright ones. Yeah, the only slight issue was that obviously darker clothing it absorbed somewhat slightly more heat. So, well, yeah. So she's just slowly somewhat getting used to wearing more and more over time as she got older, black clothing, and yeah. Though, and finally 2 more years would go by, though a month prior to the getting exams, Susan would give her a scroll about the shadow clone jutsu. Of course, I should within those 2 years had gotten it down to about 25,000 clones minimum. And well, yeah, she had more than enough chakra to make a very bloody army. And yeah, she just still didn't have chakra control, though she was still obviously practicing. And yeah, anyway, though she had somewhat learned it within an hour, maybe even half an hour, due to somewhat being smarter and more connected to her chakra, as she's full Uzumaki and not half. So she was more spiritual, so she'd be even more spiritually tied to her chakra, which would mean she'd have a better understanding. And due to obviously somewhat having the chakra chain, well, chakra chains wouldn't necessarily help her in that aspect, mainly just with somewhat being able to manipulate her chakra. Actually, yeah, it'd help her in manipulating her chakra, which was what was, well, yeah, which due to the fact she well surpassed the fucking chakra requirement for a single clone. She well, yeah, it was mainly obviously just the somewhat manipulation of her chakra, which was more than good enough with the adamantium chains, requiring chakra manipulation to a decent degree to be able to get it to do what you want. And yeah, also when she turned about 10, Susan had somewhat felt also comfortable enough to teach her, or at least tell her about Funjutsu, to which he wasn't all that pleased about that. He was kind of kept away from her. That Funjutsu was what Uzumakis were damn good at, but he'd somewhat explained that one wrong move could cause her to somewhat kill herself, or blow the entire village up in a single go, which she'd kind of then somewhat understood, though she also then kind of somewhat realised that she wouldn't send chakra, a shite ton of chakra into a seal anyway, and that she's pretty sure that a seal would have to be designed to hold that much, or at least, well, yeah, to be able to hold that much, and that a normal seal would blow up even if it was normal if she dumped that much chakra into it anyway. So yeah, but so for obviously those 2 years, or at least for those 2 years as well, she'd also been practicing with that, and also at least another weapon I forgot to state, besides from Kunai Shogun, the normal academy, the somewhat normal somewhat what obviously academy students were all trained in. She was also trained herself in Sanbon, mainly due to not really getting really precise. She'd get precise enough that she can get obviously bullseyes and that, but she wouldn't get pinpoint somewhat accuracy to where she could throw it hard and know that was the kill. she wasn't all that focused about, you know, using sunburn for killing. She was more interested in using them for poison, because obviously certain plants could be poisonous and stuff like that, and or at least it was that got her into somewhat learning about poisons. And yeah, and then somewhat sunburn obviously would be somewhat hard to obviously hit from the air, so more than likely more, you know, you'd be sort of, you know, fine kind of letting one, some, you know, letting a few hit you. And of course if that was on poisoned, well, you know, then that was a kill. Or if it was a more paralyzing-esque one, they'd be paralyzed. So yeah. And well, Crew9 checking well, yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so back to where we were. Shadow Clone. So she'd learned about Shadow Clone, and she gave it to someone Tears and Dojo. When she was reading over it, learning how to do it, she'd got the odd feeling that he was hiding something from her, and he was. So that night, she'd sneak into the Hokage's office and would go into the forbidden scroll, when someone would pull it out and open it up, as it did state that the jutsu was forbidden for those who had less than so much chakra. And she knew, or at least someone his and told her that she had probably more than the entire village combined by this point, which, yeah, as you kind of realised, was a shite ton. And he said that included himself, so yeah, that was a shite ton of chakra she had. And so yeah, she somewhat, and of course somewhat, and well, you know, when she opened it, it was immediately there, you know, Shadow Clone Jutsu. And so much she was reading over it, and she'd realise, or at least somewhat the part that wasn't in it, which was that it allowed for the memory, somewhat they had memory feedback, which meant that each clone she made would give her its memories back, though it would also state that it was a also somewhat ability that the caster could turn on or off, which she knew would be freaking useful, especially with how much chakra she could probably produce. Well, yeah, she knew she could do she could do one easily, and that she was part. And yeah, those she somewhat was probably more than, she's somewhat wary doing more than 2 at the moment. So she'd do 2 with memory feedback, and as she got more comfortable, she'd do obviously more, or at least she'd make more with the ability to give her their memories back, which would obviously be which would also bring back their, you know, tiredness, fatigue, and all that stuff. Yeah. And so yeah, and so of course through that somewhat month time she had with it, she'd learn, or at least she'd kind of up that limit from 2 shadow clones with memory feedback to 10 clones with memory feedback on. And when she had it off, well, she was a walking army. She was a single woman, well, not really woman, teenager, early teen, sort of with the ability to make a freaking army. And yeah, she could make over 50, well, she could make about 50 plus, well, I don't know, well, yeah, being sort of full Uzumaki, half in the fox probably, so I guess let's put about, say, 25,000 shadow clones, with each clone having about civilian level reserves, so mid-civilian level reserves, which would probably place them around about a civilian in there, probably 30s to 40, a working male civilian in there, say 30s to 40s. So yeah, and then probably about like 10,000, but should probably rarely even hit, you know, 1,000. Yeah. Anyway, and yeah, and of course, as she knew, as she'd use the shadow clone more, she could obviously there'd be less chakra sent into making the actual clone itself, which would mean she'd have more chakra overall, which meant she could make more of them overall as the jutsu, or at least so much she got used, so obviously it would become more efficient, and better chakra control, more chakra she could pull out from being wasted in the forming of the shadow clone, or fit around the clone's physical body. So yeah, and well, yeah, and also sort of by now she'd also had kind of gone somewhat just full black when it came to just wearing somewhat clothes, and well, yeah, she kind of had a theme of going somewhat red and black, but somewhat, well, yeah, somewhat her hair was more than enough red, as it was somewhat blood red that went all the way down to her butt. And yeah, somewhat her outfit, and which will be a somewhat shinobi outfit for the time being, was somewhat black, 2-inch, somewhat thigh high. Well, yeah, not even thigh. Well, no, not thigh high, but below the knee, so below kneecap. Somewhat 2-inch black boots. Heeled boots, with the somewhat heeled, somewhat tapered in. Not like a stiletto where it went down to a very small point, but it would be a somewhat slightly tapered point. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, then she somewhat had kind of two things: either a general one, which she'd somewhat wear unless she was going off, say on a somewhat C rank, but she knew she was going against actual, maybe Genin, or maybe it's be that first B rank. Then she'd somewhat wear short shorts, black short shorts, which would allow her to be obviously somewhat very flexible, as the somewhat mid thigh length black skirt was, otherwise it did allow for some movement of freedom. It was still somewhat restrictive, granted. She did like that slight somewhat restriction, slight. And yeah, though, and of course, due to somewhat wearing a skirt, she did, or at least she did somewhat from there, or at least where or at least have a custom kind of somewhat top kind of made it, or at least somewhat she generally, or at least though somewhat her idea, as she was a bit reluctant on just going somewhat around short shorts, as well, yeah, and because she did somewhat prefer a somewhat skirt, but yeah, due to obviously not wanting to flash her somewhat underwear anytime she lift her, somewhat like to whack them in the face or that, or do a backflip or something. So well, yeah, she then somewhat ended up, or at least seen somewhat either a day or somewhat night, somewhat a kind of for at least somewhat some adult women wearing somewhat bunny outfits, or similarly somewhat outfit that obviously went under an RP single similarly piece. And yeah, so when she'd obviously somewhat told the person they'd state that they generally don't make her in a kind of size, or not really size, but somewhat age, though they did kind of, or at least the person did say that they could somewhat custom make her somewhat one, though she'd state that she was obviously a somewhat, or at least a academy somewhat student slash and that she kind of only really somewhat wanting the kind of bottom, so she obviously could somewhat find either in a skirt or something, a fairly based skirt, or one what she, or at least a somewhat kind of more slightly somewhat restrictive based somewhat skirt, where she wouldn't have to second guess about flashing someone letting people obviously see her underwear, which person would somewhat just nod, and yeah, and somewhat they'd ended up coming up with, or at least she wasn't exactly sure what or at least somewhat material mainly, And so she'd somewhat decided that she'd try 3 different materials, which was somewhat latex, lava, and somewhat fabric based. Latex, she'd somewhat went for more somewhat, matte kind of based somewhat latex, but still she didn't feel like true, or at least somewhat for her maybe instincts and that, she didn't feel comfortable in it, wearing it as a shinobi outfit, so that was a no. And there was also 2, or at least somewhat 3 different kind of options for somewhat down below, so between those somewhat legs, where it's somewhat curve, under, was either somewhat, somewhat solid, somewhat under, either hook based, where somewhat the 2 could somewhat separate by somewhat, kind of bra hooks, or somewhat a zipper, so she'd somewhat unzip the middle, the somewhat bottom, and she could obviously then pull her panties to one side and sit down and just go to the toilet, which and anytime she'd somewhat sit down either on a tree or potentially say a horse or that, future somewhat ridge horse or that, potentially when she's Kunoichi, she could would potentially feel those hooks press in. So she had gone eventually with the somewhat zip, which was all black, so it blended in with the somewhat black thing, somewhat lava slash cloth, and she still wasn't exactly sure, as she was going with somewhat a kind of artificial-ish kind of somewhat lava. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, they were somewhat, they both are somewhat cloth and leather ones, went somewhat up until somewhat her chest, which was currently somewhat an A, though she somewhat knew, somewhat, or at least relatively soon, she would have to potentially, within the next 2 or so months, going on somewhat, or at least have them make a B cup one, so from small B to large B. And yeah, though as I was somewhat saying, once they somewhat cupped her chest, from there they would somewhat at her kind of chest, they would go into a somewhat kind of somewhat still black, but it would be a somewhat transparent material, so it kind of somewhat gave a kind of blackish somewhat black. Then somewhat continued upwards up until somewhat one kind of a neck. In other words, say what the blonde natter somewhat kind of somewhat around somewhat seemingly the chest, slightly something like that, where it would also be where something they would be sleeveless, as when she was younger. She was more than somewhat used to having seams and cloth, somewhat these just sound ripping, as she was just somewhat flexible, highly flexible, so more flexible than what seams and even clothes that stated they were flexible could handle. So yeah, she preferred somewhat just sleeveless, as it was just less somewhat hassle, and if she was going into a cold climate, well, she probably wouldn't be wearing somewhat so anyway, she'd probably, maybe she could always just wear somewhat fake tights. She figured that, and a somewhat jacket, or a somewhat jacket or that. And yeah, also she'd somewhat have the Uzumaki somewhat swirl on the back, which of course would also have a zip somewhat down this, and also on the somewhat skirt on the kind of right side, a small Uzumaki swirl. And yeah, though somewhat at the moment should be sitting kind of in the class, somewhat waiting for someone who could kind of get him somewhat move on, or somewhat throughout the teams, as all his somewhat, well, yeah, all his into the teams, as he was currently telling them how proud he was that, you know, the entire class, you know, had sort of graduated and that, and, well, yes, he was somewhat starting to get annoyed. Yeah, so much he was like, yeah, you know, so much he was mentally, you know, saying to herself, we get it, you know, so much, move on, you're proud, and, yeah. Of course, they somewhat had developed the, you know, similar relationship that they did in canon by this point, which was a brother, well, this obviously, so in this obviously, what if brother-sister relationship, in canon, brotherly relationship, so yeah. And yeah, though, so finally to go, and sort of with that, I shall start staying sort of the teams, as you'd start going through the teams, and yeah. So before she'd know it, Iru could state, and somewhat Team 7 would be him, Team 7. She'd momentarily, she'd somewhat mind would, or at least the road would somewhat around her would simply slow down, as somewhat perceived, somewhat, well, yeah, her perceived time would somewhat speed up, as somewhat as she'd think about. So from what she knew about Team 7 was always consist of the Rookie of the Year, while the overall somewhat Shinobi of the Year, the generally the Konoichi of the Year, but if the overall Shinobi of the Year was female, then the male, then the Shinobi of the Year would be the Shinobi of the Year that would be chosen if the Rookie of the Year was female. And yeah. Anyway, so it was generally the Shinobi of the Year, male, Konoichi of the Year, female, best, and then the worst student of the year. So with that in mind, it was sort of her, Sasuke, and Kiba, and Iruka would state Sakura Haruno unassumingly knew that that should be put on with someone and Sasuke, or at least Sasuke kind of hoping that the old man kind of changed somewhat down the line, should be put on a different team, but nope. By the time he'd finished, she was just somewhat annoyed. Granted, nobody could tell if she was or not, but yeah, she was somewhat put up with one of somewhat Sasuke's biggest freaking fangirls, the arrogant jackass. Yeah, and Sasuke was very much had grown into an arrogant jackass like he was in canon. And yeah, and well, yeah. And so every girl kind of proclaimed that they'd all or at least one of them would become the Konoichi over the year. But they were all they never bothered to get stronger. So of course, as the academy went more shinobi. So as the shinobi part of the academy got more, or at least somewhat was more relevant, which meant news graded more on your shinobi than your more civilian based performance. You was somewhat say history, maths, and that being somewhat kind of more slightly civilian. While somewhat kunai, throwing, taijutsu, and that was more shinobi based. That, oh yeah, so she was still Konoichi of the year, and she was still somewhat holding, obviously, somewhat hiding her skills. Somewhat overall, it was best to be somewhat or at least best to be somewhat underestimated, and if that meant somewhat hiding some of her skills, then she did so. It was the academy overall, it wasn't going to impact her all that much. And yeah, and with that, guys, I am going to leave this part here. So if you have enjoyed part 1 of this what if potential series, then do tell me in the comments down below, guys. And yeah, so hope you guys and gals have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this, and good bye.